with your senses.
You have got to talk to your neighbors, because the media, they're not going to report on it.
Kevin Thompson, whose book on judicial corruption in Massachusetts has been banned.
And this federal funding is having a terribly corruptive effect on journalists, on academics, on prosecutors, on court officials of all kinds.
I found out that every time I exposed public corruption or white-collar crime, the people who I exposed faced no charges, and I faced a relentless series of charges.
The press is biased, and your story does not come out. The true story does not come out.
Our boys are fighting to bring freedom and justice in foreign lands, while here at home it is being stripped from us.
Right.
It's a trick played on all of us.
Why would courts and judges do this sort of a thing? The answer to that question is just two words: federal money.
And they just simply created this statute, created all these committees, created these jobs, created these industries, and no one's going to stop them because there's no one to stop them.
So there is an industry completely built up around the redistribution of our children. Who gets the checks for the services that are offered? It's not the parents, and it's not the child. It's the service providers.
I'm here in Washington, D.C. today to ask the federal government why federal funds are available to the legal industry to prey on society's weakest members: our elderly, our handicapped, our mentally challenged, and our children.
This court system is riddled with abuses, with corruption, with graft. Children are effectively walking bundles of cash. Whoever controls the children can get money from the federal government.
The legislature, the judiciary, the legal system lusts after these federal funds.
The federal government is the locomotive driving this whole thing. They're taking otherwise normal courts and they're adding fuel in the form of federal money to subsidize certain actions that they want to see happen.
They ended up creating an industry. An industry. People getting arrested without a hearing and things of that nature, and all having to do with the change in the law.
Judges gave themselves immunity for their decisions, as long as those decisions were not malicious or corrupt. A few years later, the court took the malicious and corrupt away.
Judges have given themselves immunity. Are you aware of that?
I read that about...
Absolute immunity. Yeah. They've given lawyers qualified immunity. And in my case, Margaret Marshall used my case to rewrite the anti-SLAPP law to give social workers who commit perjury in court immunity. And the immunity, which are totally un-American, we're all supposed to be equal before the law, but they've made themselves into an aristocracy that operates above the law.
The judges had created immunity. They had created such a thing called sovereign immunity, and I'd look at the Constitution and I'd say, how can you come up with this thing called sovereign immunity where the government is not accountable to the people? How can that happen? There's not a word of it in the Constitution. In fact, the whole idea of the Constitution is the government should be accountable to the people.
How does judicial immunity jive with the concept, the constitutional concept, that all men are equal before the law?
And if you want to continue to have a relationship with your child, you do as we say, or we'll take your child away.
The harm that they do to the children of our nation, that's incredible. You're talking tens of thousands of children being harmed by these judges' actions just so they can collect money from Washington.
When they interfere with the family unit, undermine parental authority, and substitute state decisions for parent decisions, that is going to be the beginning of the destruction of our society.
Justice! When do we want it? Now! When do we want justice? When do we want it? Now!
Is it a big leap to consider that these people who are doing unconstitutional and illegal acts to empower themselves and industries, the legal industries that they belong to, is it a big stretch to really think that they would go so far as to edit tapes?
I guess not.
How can you have a government and all of its little governors being immune at the same time have a right to petition government for redress?
We'll be handing out some flyers trying to raise some awareness and bring some exposure to the sedition and treason that takes place daily in our courtrooms.
Isn't there anybody with a conscience in our judicial system or our government?
Well, the more I asked, the more I saw that it was somehow buried in the field of law and the people that govern, their inability to control the government.
Thomas Jefferson warned us all that the biggest danger to America isn't from abroad, it's from within, and it's from the judiciary. He, a lawyer, points out that the judiciary is the greatest threat to our democracy. And he's turned out to be more than correct.
More than, yeah.
Yeah.
Come back! Oh, baby, come back! Come back! Baby, please come back! Baby! Come back, baby! Baby, come back!
The courts are a criminal enterprise to get money, federal dollars, from the federal government.
Tyranny by the judiciary. Judicial tyranny is what I began to see that was making up the arbitrary powers of government. So I began